reviews budgets, monitors executive action through committees, and engages in the oversight function of these independent institutions created under this new constitution, and also its accountability and law enforcement. Oversight prevents abuse of power, protects human rights, and ensures state authority respects constitutional limits. Inclusive representation is also vital. Laws on decentralization and local governance bring decision-making closer to communities, ensuring voices from across the atolls are heard. Maldives is a country with 187 islands spread over 20 administrative regions we call atolls. And we are going to hold nationwide local elections on the 4th of April this year. And in small island states like the Maldives, inclusion is essential for social cohesion and unity. And this local election will give that the sense of belonging to the people. These lessons from Maldives resonate across South Asia. Democracies in the region face shared challenges: political polarization, social inequality, and decline in trust. When parliaments fail to respond to legitimate grievances of the people, instability grows. When legislatures promote dialogue, accountability, and inclusion, they become forces of stability even in divided societies. Parliaments also institutionalize peace. In post-conflict or transitional contexts, peace agreements remain fragile unless they are translated into law. Legislatures transform political settlements into binding constitutional and legal frameworks, ensuring durability and legitimacy. Looking ahead, building democratic trust requires deliberate parliamentary action. Legislatures must broaden participation, address social and economic inequalities, and recognize peace building as a core function through lawmaking, oversight, and public engagement. Ladies and gentlemen, peace is not imposed, it is built. Democratic trust is not declared, it is earned. Parliaments, by their legitimacy and representativeness, are uniquely positioned to be engines of reconciliation. The Maldives, together with broader lessons from South Asia, reminds us that strong, inclusive, and accountable parliaments are essential to peaceful and resilient democracies. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. May I now invite Honorable Dr. 𝗦𝗶𝗱𝗵𝗺, Deputy Speaker of the Parliament of Sri Lanka, a medical professional and parliamentary elected from Colombo. He brings a unique perspective in inclusive governance and post-conflict democratic trust in Sri Lanka. And may I tell you one more thing, that he is graduated from National College, Multan, so he knows Pakistan very well. So, Honorable Dr. 𝗦𝗶𝗱𝗵𝗺.
Thank you for that introduction. Actually, it really touches me with a deep sense of nostalgia as I stand here before you for the simple reason that was mentioned just now. I graduated in 1986 from Nishtar Medical College in Multan. Politics was never in my blood, nor was in my itinerary. I have been a passionate doctor for 40 years, 1986 to 26. For 40 years I've been a passionate doctor, but realizing that providing health care to my patients alone will not improve their standard of living, their standard of education, is what made me venture into politics for the last maybe 8 years and stand here before you today. I was actually a recipient of a scholarship offered by the government of Pakistan, for which I am ever grateful to both the government and the people of Pakistan. I hold them dear to my heart, always and every day. Coming to the topic of today, peace and democratic trust, parliaments as engines of reconciliation. Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Deputy Speakers, Speakers of Parliaments, Honorable Members of Provincial Assemblies, National Assemblies, Honorable Delegates, guests, ladies and gentlemen, I am truly deeply honored, me and my delegation from Sri Lanka, for having invited us here to this beautiful city of lights, Karachi. We are sincerely grateful to CPA Pakistan Sindh branch for their warm welcome and unique hospitality, which I have known for a long time. Just to add in between, I experienced hospitality at the grassroots when I was a student. Thinking of that, it really touches me even today. The hospitable people of Multan, and I'm happy to say I met the member of the National Assembly from Multan. He came and spoke to me now. It was like meeting a long-lost brother. Thank you very much. We all know that in a rapidly changing world, our region faces new economic and technological challenges. In Sri Lanka, we believe that parliaments must be engines of reconciliation. To us, this is not just a slogan. It is our guiding philosophy in rebuilding our nation. Ladies and gentlemen, as you know, Sri Lanka is a diverse nation of 22 million people. And in 2022, our democracy faced its toughest test since independence. After our economy shrank by 7% and essentials became acutely scarce, our people rose up in what is known as the struggle. The frustrations of the masses find no if and when the frustrations of the masses find no home in legislature, they inevitably spill onto the streets. In Sri Lanka, we are making dialogue a permanent part of our laws. Through three revolutionary tools, the Office of National Unity, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, and our sectoral oversight committees. The mechanisms ensures that the grievances of the people are addressed within the walls of the parliament and not on our streets. We have fundamentally transformed how we make laws by empowering our oversight committees in Parliament. We have moved towards a truly consultative democracy. These committees now have the power to bring civil society, minority representatives, and youth activists directly into government and governance. We must recognize that trust is the currency of democracy. And across South Asia and Asia, that currency has been devalued by lack of transparency and accountability. We are committed to restoring that trust by closing the delivery deficit. Our 2026 budget is not only a fiscal document. It is a commitment to total transparency and accountability. Ladies and gentlemen, we have, as I mentioned, we have opened the doors of our parliament to the young and the youth by way of student parliaments, youth parliaments, so that the youth of today, our future statesmen, be more responsible and more informed We want to send them the message that they are at the table and not on the menu. Honorable ladies and gentlemen, our challenges extend from beyond our borders, from economic shocks to climate change and now the menace of narcotic drugs. We are in this together. This is not a battle that our nations can win for ourselves. It is a regional battle that we have to be together. We must realize that peace is not something we can order on a mobile app. It is something we must grow right here in our legislatures by choosing dialogue over disruption. Sri Lanka has shown that no matter how long for or how deep our ethnic conflict was, for how long or how deep our ethnic conflict was for, our nation has moved from darkness to light. Telling you today's topic being trust and democracy. The role of Parliament, Sri Lankan Parliament in the post-conflict journey. I would tell you very briefly how we are proceeding today in the post-conflict era in Sri Lanka and how Parliament has been a major contributory factor for that. Our post-conflict journey taught us a simple but profound lesson. Peace cannot be sustained by the absence of violence alone. It must be anchored in institutions that citizens trust, and among them, Parliament occupies a unique position. In the immediate post-conflict phase, Sri Lanka's challenge was not only rebuilding physical infrastructure, but rebuilding confidence between communities that had been divided by fear and mistrust, and between citizens and the state. This is where democratic trust became central in peace. In a polarized society, this act of keeping disagreement within democratic boundaries was itself a reconciliation mechanism. From a legislative standpoint, Parliament contributed in three main ways. I will tell you very briefly. First, by institutionalizing reconciliation. Parliamentary debates, our committees and our oversight processes allowed sensitive issues like resettlement, rehabilitation and language rights and transitional justice to be addressed openly. Second, through lawmaking that reflected pluralism, Sri Lanka's post-conflict reforms increasingly acknowledge the country's multi-ethnic, multi-religious and multilingual character. Third, ladies and gentlemen, through parliamentary oversight in post-conflict and pluralistic societies, trust grows when citizens see that executive power is constrained by law. Equally important were the pluralistic mechanisms Parliament helped sustain. Minority parties and regional representatives were not merely symbolic. They functioned as active channels for grievance articulation. They reduce alienation and help prevent the re-emergence of extra-institutional agitation. Sri Lanka's experience offers a cautionary role. Reconciliation and trust is never permanent. It never is a one-time job. democratic trust must be continuously earned and sustainable through inclusion, performance, and accountability. Where institutions appear distant and exclusionary, peace becomes fragile even years after conflict has ended. Honorable ladies and gentlemen, Sri Lanka's post-conflict journey demonstrates that parliaments can function as engines of reconciliation, not by eliminating disagreement, but giving it a democratic home and platform. Where citizens trust that their voices are heard, that their voices matter, and that institutions will respond fairly and justly, then peace becomes durable. Our parliaments must not remain just symbols and monuments of the past. May I conclude by saying, may our hearts be our sensory organs of sight and hearing. Thank you very much for your patient hearing.
Thank you, sir. Trust is the currency of our democracy. Now, may I invite Right Honorable 𝗦𝗶𝗶𝗵𝗵 is a British Labour Party politician, a former civil rights lawyer, and member of Parliament for Brent South from 1987 to 2005. Following his departure from the House of Commons, he served as a British High Commissioner to South Africa from March 2005 to May 2009. He was introduced as a member of the House of the Lords on 1st July 2010. Honorable Sir.
Thank you very much. Your Excellency, Mr. Speaker Awar Shah, Chairman, Regional Speakers, and fellow Commonwealth parliamentarians. Greetings from Westminster, where I was yesterday and where I will be tomorrow. It's great to be with you in what was the Gold Coast and is now Ghana. And in our native indigenous tradition, by way of introduction, when presented to a distinguished assembly of leaders, elders, chiefs, people much like yourselves, the linguist who speaks on behalf of the paramount chief, and that would be you, Mr. Speaker, doesn't ask you your name, doesn't ask about your ancestry, your titles or occupation, but asks you one question. Why are you here? Why are you here? And the answer to that question in our Akan West African belief system tells you, in fact, all that you need to know by way of introduction. And my answer to that question, Mr. Speaker, would, of course, partly be out of respect for you and for Pakistan, and all that you, Mr. Speaker, here in Sindh have done for this province and your nation. Pakistan, a nation which is dear to the hearts of so many in Britain, not least many of my former constituents in northwest London, who are Pakistani by way of ancestry as well as British, but also Pakistan, a country dear to the hearts of so many of my compatriots by reason of historical connection. But also, and importantly, Mr. Speaker, the answer we would all give, every one of us in this room, to that question, why are we here, is we're here because parliaments matter. Parliaments matter as forums for the representatives of the people. Parliaments matter as instruments of democracy and development, because each and every one of us is answerable ultimately, of course, to God for what we do on this earth, but immediately and more pressingly, we are answerable at the ballot box for what we do for our constituents and for the people of our respective nations, for what we and the institution of Parliament, of which we are all a part, does for them. And the need to deliver is paramount. The need to deliver is paramount, never more so than at this time in which our world faces numerous challenges, whether from the climate emergency, geopolitical tensions and trade wars, budgetary restraints that have led to a decline in levels of development assistance, and a widespread disenchantment and mistrust in all our countries, without exception. Disenchantment and mistrust of all sources of authority, national and indeed multilateral institutions, fueled sometimes by events, but also that mistrust fueled by fake news, the product of social media and the World Wide Web, a source not only potentially of good and global connection, but also of alienation, mistrust, and indeed hatred between peoples and nations. That's the context in which we meet here in Karachi. All is not well in the world. And this threatens us all, but particularly those squeezed by the great powers. You know, we have a saying in Africa, and you will know it from Zambia, Mr. Chairman of the Executive. We have a saying in Africa: when great elephants fight, when great elephants fight, it is the grass that gets trampled upon. When great elephants fight, it's the grass that gets trampled on. And we needs must be resilient in such a time as this, if we are to spring back when those elephants move on, because they always do. And we need not to be trampled, but we need to be resilient and spring up. And that's what Parliament is for. We are united, aren't we? At least in this space, this wonderful great hall, with both its modern and its historic connections. We are united in this space by the belief that the Commonwealth can be a source of that resilience, a source for good, of cooperation, mutuality, and the sharing of best practice. Hence the theme of this gathering, Parliaments of the Future, redefining democracy through trust, inclusion, innovation, and peace. I would suggest in my remarks today that we need, in the context of the current challenges I've outlined, we need to make sure that parliaments become an institution for delivery and a representative of democratic legitimacy. We need, don't we, to see parliaments focus on these challenges through more effective delivery, and I would argue the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals. The goals to which the world committed itself to achieve by 2030. And those goals are increasingly unlikely to be achieved without a fresh focus and renewed effort at every level. Our parliaments, if we are to secure the future, need to put these goals center stage, legislate for them, advocate for them, and in our committee work and structures contribute to not only mobilizing effectively both private and public sector resources, but also ensuring that governments of whatever political stripe work effectively across departments to deliver those goals, and that that delivery is demonstrated in changes at a local constituency level to promote those goals and the welfare of our constituents. We have got to move, haven't we, friends, fellow parliamentarians, from rhetoric, and we hear a lot of that. We've got to move from rhetoric to changing the reality on the ground for those we represent. And I would suggest that there are 8 particular of those goals that affect all of us in this room, all the great variety of nation states that are represented by you all. And they are, aren't they, 3, SDG 3, good health and well-being, 4, quality education, 6, clean water and sanitation, 10, reduced inequalities, 11, sustainable cities and communities, 13, climate action, 14, life below water, 15, life on land. Those need to be the foci of what our parliaments do. And I recommend to you the work of the UN on the role of parliaments in the SDGs. It's their product in a series of papers is worthy of study and implementation in all our parliaments. But also, and importantly, the good work that's being done on the ground now. The good work that's being done by Parliament here in Pakistan, the good work that's being done specifically on the SDGs in Zambia, which has been widely recognized, and a great credit to you, Mr. Chairman, and to your fellow MPs. And as a former Chief Secretary to the Treasury, the Cabinet Minister in the UK responsible for the control and effectiveness of public spending, I can assure you that nothing concentrated my mind more than an upcoming interrogation by the Public Accounts and Finance Committee of my House. I knew as an MP and as a cabinet minister that when I went before that committee, I had to be in a position to answer the questions. I had to be able to demonstrate government effectiveness and delivery. So how we structure our committees, how we empower our committees, how we inform ourselves is crucial to our role in delivering the SDGs. And I just want to make two brief points about two areas that I think we need to have a particular focus on. The first, one that I mentioned recently in an address to the IMF and World Bank caucus of African finance ministers and central bank governors that met late last year in Abuja. The first is the importance of artificial intelligence and blockchain technology in public service delivery and instilling trust and confidence in the monitoring of public finances and procurement. Blockchain provides ready access to reliable data and a tool to counter corruption in procurement and fakery in trade and finance. So that resource of AI and of blockchain needs to be available to parliaments as well as to governments. And I would urge you in your work to commission further work on how blockchain technology and AI might assist your committee and individual work in Parliament, if you have not already done so. And it has the added advantage of linking youth and young people who in all our countries are often way ahead of the curve in terms of appreciating what AI and the new technology can deliver. It's not something that is confined simply to advanced Western economies. Our young people who are so often distanced from us in Parliament can be brought in to the process of parliamentary delivery and indeed of parliamentary accountability and oversight by our developing AI, social media, and blockchain technology. You know, we have another saying in West Africa that speaks to the importance of not allowing the digital divide to further weaken us in terms of global inequality. And it's this: if you come late to the kitchen, you don't have to break as many pots. If you come late to the kitchen, you don't have to break as many pots. And what that saying means is that don't let the fact that we are somewhat behind deter us, because we can catch up, we can share good practice in forums such as this and move forward and learn from the mistakes of those who've gone before us. And the final point I would make is this: politics, although it can be assisted by technology, is a deeply personal occupation, isn't it? For all of us. We are personally engaged in the political process. It's deeply personal, in which we are judged by our ability to relate to the personal preoccupations of our constituents. So a word, if I may, on SDG 6, clean water and sanitation, and its implications for our parliamentary system, both in terms of scrutiny, statutory regulation, and budgetary allocation. Just think about it. Clean water and sanitation. Now, I reckon, looking around this room, that I'm perhaps one of the older ones amongst you. I'm going to be 75 years old this year. Now, I remember in the Gold Coast the day my parents first had a flushing toilet in our house. I remember that day as a 6-year-old. It was in the year of our independence, 1957. I remember rushing into the toilet and flushing it and flushing it and flushing it, because it was a sign of progress. It was a sign that we were getting somewhere. But the reality is, you know, and I speak of this with some passion as chair of water and sanitation for the urban population, water and sanitation for the urban poor, it used to be called. We're in 7 African countries, and in this region, we're in Bangladesh with offices in all those countries. We work with regulators, we work with the private sector, local authorities, with central government, and where we can with parliaments. We work to link the poorest of the poor to the best of water and sanitation. And it requires parliamentary engagement for delivery. And it's not an academic thing, it's about winning elections. It's about getting return to Parliament. In my first election in 1987, I campaigned on the issue in Wembley, in northwest London, of bringing external toilets into primary schools so that the kids weren't cold and wet in the winter when they went to the loo. I had a campaign on that issue, and I won an election on that issue because they said, hey, this is a young man who cares. This is a young man who wants to make a difference. And I was the first person of African descent ever to be elected to the British Parliament on that issue. So it's not academic, it's central, isn't it? Water and sanitation to our sense of self. You cannot talk about educating girls in school and gender equality unless for every day of the month girls can go and access safe, secure, private sanitary facilities. Absolutely central to gender equity, to SDG 10. So I would argue that we at this time cannot afford to be found wanting in our parliaments if we are to retain their legitimacy and fulfill our function as sustaining and creating a sustainable democracy, fit for the purposes our people expect of us. So, even as I depart this afternoon, early evening, I wish you all the very best on behalf of my colleagues in Westminster in the next few days. Thank you, Your Excellency, Mr. Speaker, for extending this invitation to us and gathering us here. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for all you do for this nation and its crucial role in the region and the wider world. And I leave you with a word, one word I learned to say in South Africa. And that word is this, and you can Google it if you wish. The word is pronounced in this way: 𝗔𝘀𝘀𝘀𝗀𝗃. 𝗔𝘀𝘀𝘀𝘀𝗃. And that word refers to the inspiration of an event such as this, extolling us in its English translation. And you must forgive me, I don't have the Urdu one, I leave it to you to do that. 𝗔𝘀𝘀𝘀𝗀𝗃. It means this: just get up, get out there, and do it. Get up, get out there, and do it. 𝗔𝘀𝘀𝘀𝗀𝗃. So let us just do what we know needs to be done the right thing by our parliaments and our people, true to the spirit of the pioneering parliamentarians, the men and the women who founded our respective nations. And I can remember them: Tunku Abdul Rahman, Mrs. Bandra Naika, Major General Ayub Khan, the Bhutas, and above all, Dr. Jinnah. Dr. Jinnah. So let's come together. Let's unify in the Commonwealth in his spirit. For it was he who said, Dr. Jinnah, that it is the flame of unity that illuminates the darkest of paths. Our world is dark, but the Commonwealth, forums such as this, can bring us together. The flame of unity illuminates the darkest of paths. Let that flame burn bright. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. We are here because parliaments matter. Now, with honor to invite Honorable 𝗦𝗶𝗵𝗵, Speaker of Parliamentary Assembly of Punjab, a senior legislator and lawyer. He is closely associated with parliamentary reform, procedural strengthening, and enhancing public trust in legislative institutions. Honorable 𝗦𝗶𝗵𝗵.
Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Honorable Mian Raza Rubani Sahab, former Chairman, Senate of Pakistan, and as chief guest of this session, worthy Speaker Sindh Assembly, 𝗤𝗫𝗻𝗔𝗀 Sahib, Honorable Deputy Speaker of the Republic of Maldives, Excellency Ahmed Nazim, Honorable Deputy Speaker of the Parliament of Sri Lanka, Excellency Dr. 𝗔𝘀𝘀𝗀𝗵, Honorable Speaker of the Provincial Assembly of KP, Excellency Babar Salim Swati Sahib, Honorable Speaker of the Legislative Assembly of GB, Excellency Nazir Ahmed Sahib, the Right Honorable Paul Yaw Bitang, Honorable Datu Sri Amar the Raja Dr. Haji Muhammad Amr bin Abdullah, Speaker of the Assembly from Malaysia, Honorable Datu Sri Haji Muhammad Sharkar bin Haji Shamsuddin, Speaker of the Assembly from Malaysia, Honorable Law Wing Sen, Speaker of the Assembly from Malaysia. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank Mr. 𝗦𝗫𝗀𝗃 and his team for bringing in this very important, extremely important, I would rather say. The question of trust in Parliament depends how we come to the parliaments and what we do in the parliaments. It was an inspiring speech by the worthy member of the House of Commons. He has served in different capacities. He was sharing his experiences. Rightfully so, that those words were very inspiring. But somehow, in last few decades now, I can say, the democracy is taking a different shape. It is dependent upon the houses in which we sit. It is dependent upon the procedures which we adopt. It is dependent upon the content which we bring out in these proceedings. If it is marked with violence, if it is marked with shouting, if it is marked without having subtle arguments, not giving solutions, not addressing the peoples of millions, those who are still out of school, still they don't have drinking water. The question of trust will remain very questionable. And I can see that. In my part of world, it is very apparent. In resolving the conflicts, same goes. Is it a house for reconciliation? Yes, in theory it is. But am I practicing it? I have fears for that. Are those issues, those are related to security? Can we just speak on them? Are those security issues, are these houses or the parliaments or the places where these debates have to be generated? I look around in my region. May those be in my neighboring regions. May those be in my country. May those be in the South Asian countries where we think that democracy has their own ways and they preach that they are the largest democracies, but still decisions are made elsewhere. I have no evidence saying that it is a day of strong executives. Yes, it is. It is a day of populism, popular leaderships emerging. Is it a bad day? Or is it an order of the day? Or will it continue to be the order of the day? Is it weakening the institutions? I'm still figuring out. I'm living the history. I'm experiencing it. I'm finding that the dignity which was related to the democracy, it has traveled a lot. It has traveled through the religion. It has traveled through different phases of the history. It has come to the democracy, and the reflection of the democracy was these houses. In these houses, I find that still standing on this day, in this century, we are lacking. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a question of concern. In practice, we say, yes, it is. It has to be this way. These parliamentary oversights, they can produce results. If West has shown us some ways of these inclusivity and these parliamentary oversights, changing and transforming the world for them, giving reason to the people and the populace, those who vote for these governments, to be part of that, it has happened. So can we do that? Do we have to invent a new wheel? Or do we have to do it our way, but following the same footsteps of parliamentary oversight, of inclusivity, of taking those challenges, of giving the dividends of democracy to the people at the grassroots? Today, in my part of world, these conferences are helping. In the Lahore Charter, which we held last year in 2025, we spoke on multiple challenges. On AI, I have my concerns. I take it as a challenge, or is it a challenge, or is it an opportunity which will lead the way? It is leading the way in medicine, it is leading the way in industrialization, it is leading the way in education. But we sitting here, those who have to legislate, are we equipped with it? How to legislate and regulate that? Can we leave these AI engines with the private companies, and can we just not look into the history? That we as humans, I just have to quote Harari's new book, Nexus is one quote, that we as humans are in practice of creating monsters which we don't know how to deal afterwards. So it is still a challenge. AI has its own benefits, but if it is left in the warfare, how to deal with it? Will it be inhaling the old inhabitations is still a question mark. And these parliaments, are we equipped? I have to say, no, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, undoubtedly, the things which will come for debate in these houses, meaningful debates, conclusive debates, with certain amount of authority. It is a place almost in where we share the same common background of Commonwealth. We have some certain similar rules. And in these rules, we can clearly understand that executive takes birth at this place. In most parts, in most constitutions, it is answerable to these houses. But somehow, the minute we climb the ladder of executive, we divorce the parliaments. This is the reality of the day. In the first Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, which was a joint conference in Lahore Declaration, we set certain challenges. I really have to appreciate Sindh Assembly. I was taking those notes. Those laws of protection for women in working places in Sindh is an excellent law. We are still thinking over it, and Sindh has done it. So these are meaningful things which needs to be done. I just have to congratulate 𝗦𝗶 again of bringing all these people together and continuity of that first conference here. So I have learned today every single word of worthy member of the House of Commons. I meant a lot to me, my friend from Sri Lanka. His experience of resolving conflict was really light for me to follow. Our friend from Maldives, in his very modest words, gave a clear roadmap, and I hope that we continue to share our experiences and carry on with these dialogues, and these conferences of region become a continuous effort which we take. I thank you all for hearing me out on this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now may I invite Honorable 𝗦𝗶𝗱𝗵 sir, Speaker for the Provincial Assembly of 𝗦𝗶𝗱𝗵, a seasoned parliamentarian. He has led reforms focused on transparency, accountability, and institutional strengthening within the Assembly.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. 𝗔𝘀𝘀𝗀𝗵 وإياك نستعين. Honorable Chair, distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. At the very outset, I extend my sincere thanks and congratulations to the Honorable Speaker of Sindh Assembly, Honorable Sayyid Awais Qadir Shah, and to the Sindh Assembly Secretariat for their generous hospitality extended to all of us, all delegations, and for organizing the 7th CPA Asia Regional Conference. Today, as we reflect on peace and democratic trust, Parliament as an engine of reconciliation, we must not forget that the trust of our people in the democratic institutions lies at the very heart of any functional democracy. People lose faith when they face hunger, disease, illiteracy, and denial of their fundamental rights. Democratic institutions must be fully empowered to take policy decisions. Legislators must legislate for public good, Assemblies must be strong enough to hold the executive accountable. The policies of the state must be placed before the elected chambers, debated by us and aligned to the people's desires. They must not be imposed on us, assemblies, as well as the people of the country. The chambers must not become rubber stamps. Power must rest with the chosen representatives. It should not lie anywhere else. This is our challenge, and we must meet this challenge collectively. In the inaugural ceremony, my dear friend and our host, Speaker Sindh Assembly, talked about expanding unilateralism world over. I fully endorse his comments with an addition. The trend of talking unilateral decisions is not only growing on the global level, but also within our respective societies. Democracy in its nature is pluralistic. The beauty of democracy is taking collective decisions through debate and discussions. Consensus through mutual confidence is the way to creating a functional democracy. However, when people's voices are not heard, not respected, democracy loses its meaning. And statecraft becomes power play of the few while majority choices are ignored. This is when people start feeling isolated. This is when societies develop frustration. This is when public anger grows and violence replaces dialogue. This is when democracies fail, anarchies prevail. Let us not let this happen. Let us protect democratic ideas of understanding, accommodation, and dialogue. There is a quote when morning newspaper tells you that everything is good in the country. Be sure that all the good people are in jail. At the end, I would like to pay tribute to the people, to the leaders who worked for Pakistan, for the democracy. The Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, Liaquat Ali Khan Shaheed, Mohtarama Fatima Jinnah Sahiba, Abdul Ghaffar Khan, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto Sahib, Mohtarama Bibi Sahiba Shaheed, Maulana Abu Lala Maududi, all these peoples have suffered for the rule of law in this country. And above all, one person, Khan, the Khan of Pakistan, Imran Khan Niazi, who has been in prison more than 900 days for the rule of law in this country. Thank you all for listening me, and I appreciate your, thank you all. Pakistan, Zindabad.
sir. Now may I invite Honorable Dato Sri Amar Tiraja Dato Dr. Muhammad Amar bin Abdullah, Speaker of the Kelantan State Legislative Assembly, Malaysia, a veteran parliamentarian. He brings decades of legislative experience and regional parliamentary engagement. Honorable Sir.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man tabi'ahu wa wala. Respected Chairman, the Honorable Dr. 𝗦𝗁𝗀𝗵𝗵, Chairperson of the CPA Executive Committee, Honorable 𝗖𝗀₃𝗀𝗀𝗃𝗀, Speaker of the Provincial Assembly of Sindh, Honorable Mian Raza Rabbani, former Chairman of Senate of Pakistan, Honorable Speakers, Deputy Speakers, Presiding Officers of State and Provincial Legislatures, distinguished delegates, esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a great honor and privilege for me, on behalf of the Kelantan State Legislative Assembly and the State Government of Kelantan, Malaysia, to be present at the 7th CPA Asia Regional Conference, 2nd Joint CPA Asia and Southeast Asia Regional Conference here in Karachi. Allow me to express my sincere appreciation and gratitude to the Parliament of Pakistan, the Provincial Assembly of Sindh, and the CPA Asia Region Secretariat for the warm hospitality and excellent arrangements for this important regional conference. This conference provides a valuable platform for speakers and parliamentarians from across the Asian region to exchange views, share best practices, and strengthen parliamentary democracy, good governance, and cooperation among our respective legislatures. Parliament and the State Assembly stand as the principal arena where elected representatives speak, debate, and articulate their views in the service of the people and the nation. For that reason, the Speaker carries a critical responsibility to safeguard the space for these voices to be expressed freely, fairly, and without fear. In many ways, the Speaker resembles a judge, one who listens with equal care to both the prosecution and the defense, the government and the opposition in our term, never allowing personal bias to cloud judgment. When a speaker upholds justice and neutrality, the quality of debate is elevated. From that maturity of discourse comes clearer resolutions, wiser decisions, and ultimately outcomes that better serve the country and its citizens. Parliament and the State Assembly are the nation's forums where elected representatives speak, debate, and advance the interests of the people. The Speaker's duty is to protect that space, ensuring every voice is heard freely and fairly. Like a judge, the speaker must remain impartial, listening to all sides without bias. When the chair is just, debates become meaningful, decisions gain legitimacy, and the nation ultimately benefits. Parliament and the State Legislative Assembly are not merely halls of procedure. They are the nation's conscience in motion, where the voices of the people are carried, contested, and refined through reasoned debate. It is within these chambers that policies are tested, differences are reconciled, and the future of the country is shaped. In such a setting, the role of the speaker is not ceremonial, it is fundamental. The speaker serves as the guardian of order and the custodian of fairness, ensuring that every representative, regardless of side or standing, is granted the right to speak and to be heard. A speaker must rise above partisanship. Much like a judge in a court of law, he listens with patience, weighs every argument with care, and rules without prejudice or favor. Authority, when exercised with restraint and integrity, commands respect from all sides. Only when the chair is just will the debate be meaningful. Only when the process is fair will the conclusions carry legitimacy. And from that legitimacy emerge what truly matters: decisions that protect the people, strengthen institutions, and advance the nation as a whole. I am confident that the discussions and deliberation throughout this conference will contribute positively towards enhancing the role of parliaments in addressing contemporary challenges faced by our nations and our people. On this note, I wish the 7th CPA Asia Regional Conference and 2nd Joint CPA Asia and Southeast Asia Regional Conference every success, and look forward to fruitful and constructive deliberation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. May I now invite Honorable Dato Sri Haji Muhammad Sharkar bin Haji Shamsuddin, Speaker of the Pahang State Legislative Assembly, Malaysia. With extensive experience in state and regional legislatures, he has represented Pahang at several CPA forums. Honorable Sir.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, wa salli wa sallin ala nabil karim wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajmain. Mr. Chairman, Honorable Speaker of Province Assembly of Sindh, Syed 𝗔𝘀𝘀𝗀𝗵, Honorable Chairperson of Executive Committee of CPA, Dr. 𝗔𝘀𝘀𝗀𝗵, Honorable Mian Riza Rabbani, former Chairman Senate of Pakistan, Honorable Speakers, Deputy Speakers, Members of Parliament and State Assembly, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. First and foremost, I would like to express my great appreciation for the warm invitation to be here in Karachi. I also thank the organizers for giving me the opportunity to share a few remarks in this important plenary session. This is my second time attending a CPA conference in Pakistan, and once again, I am deeply touched by the warm generosity and hospitality extended to us. Pakistan has always welcomed us, not only as delegates, but as friends. I bring with me a warm regards from our beloved Prime Minister of Malaysia, Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim, and from the Chief Minister of Pahang, my home state, Datuk Sri Warosdi Bin Ismail. Ladies and gentlemen, Malaysia values the Commonwealth. Malaysia values dialogue, and Malaysia values friendship among nations. This year, our presence here reflects our strong belief in parliamentary diplomacy and in the role of parliaments as the bridges of trust, bridges that sustain peace, sustainability, and reconciliation. Ladies and gentlemen, in today's world, peace is becoming more fragile. Conflicts are more complex. Societies are more divided. Trust in institutions is under pressure. Peace should not be understood only as the absence of war. Peace must also mean the presence of strong democratic institutions, justice, accountability, and inclusion. And among these institutions, parliaments matter most. Parliaments are not just places where laws are debated and passed. They are places where voices are heard, where differences are managed, and where opposing views meet under one roof. Parliaments are where disagreement should be resolved through words, not weapons, through votes, not violence. When Parliament functions well, society remains stable. When Parliament are trusted, nation remains united. But when democratic trust erodes, division deepens, polarization grows, and peace itself is placed at risk. That's why the role of Parliament is not only legislative, but moral. We are the custodian of trust, trust between the people and the state, trust between communities, and trust between generations. Ladies and gentlemen, this is also why Commonwealth Parliamentary Association is also important. It is more than a forum for discussion. It is a platform of shared values, mutual respect, and trust. Here, reconciliation is achieved through dialogues, not confrontation, through listening, not shouting, and through understanding, not blaming. The Commonwealth reminds us that despite our differences, history, culture, and political system, we are bound together by a commitment to democracy, the rule of law, and human dignity. The world today needs clarity of values, stability, not turmoil, tolerance, not hatred, progress, not fear of change, and peace, not endless conflict. Malaysia is a small trading nation with a multiracial, multi-religion, and multicultural society. Our diversity is not a weakness, it is our strength. We have learned that unity does not mean uniformity. We have learned that dialogue is always better than division. And we have learned that reconciliation is a continuous process, not a one-time event. Malaysia does not seek power or dominance. We do not believe in forcing our views on others. What we seek is simple. We seek friendship. We believe no nation should be isolated. We believe engagement is stronger than isolation. We believe cooperation builds more than confrontation ever will. Perhaps it is time for us as a parliamentarians to recommit ourselves to a simple principle: people over politics, peace over power, shared humanities over narrow interests. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the true meaning of reconciliation. Reconciliation begins when parliaments listen. Reconciliation grows when parliaments act wisely. And reconciliation remains strong when parliaments place trust, justice, and peace at the center of governance. Before I conclude, I would like to thank once again to the Honorable Dr. 𝗔𝘀𝘀𝗃𝗃𝗀𝗵, the Chairperson of Executive Committee of Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, and special thanks to the Honorable 𝗤𝗂𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃, Speaker of Provincial Assembly of Sindh, for organizing this important conference. May our discussion here strengthen democratic institutions, deepen trust among our nation, and contribute to lasting peace and meaningful reconciliation for our people. Terima kasih. Thank you. Syukriya. Malaysia Zambada, Zandaba, Pakistan Pendaba. Wabillahi taufiq wa hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Honorable Sir. Now may I invite Honorable 𝗤𝗂𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃, Speaker of the Selangor State Legislative Assembly, Malaysia, a legislator with legal and engineering expertise. He has been actively engaged in parliamentary capacity building initiatives. Honorable Sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Honorable Sheikh Awaz Kadir Shah, Speakers of the Provincial Assembly of Sindh, Honorable 𝗔𝘀𝘀𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃, Chairperson of the CPA Executive Committee, Mr. Stephen Twigg, I think he's here. He's actually very patient. He's been listening all the sessions from the beginning of the plenary sessions until now. He is our Secretary General for CPA, and of course not to forget the Chairman, Deputy Speaker, our friends from Honorable Mr. Ahmad Nazim, the Deputy Speakers of People's Majlis of Maldives, Honorable Dr. 𝗔𝘀𝘀𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃, Deputy Speaker of Parliament of Sri Lanka, and all the Honorable Speakers and Deputy Speakers and delegates from the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, from all the provinces and region, as well as my fellow colleagues from Malaysia, speakers of Pahang, speakers of Kelantan, Johor, Perak, and also Terengganu. A very good evening to all of you, ladies and gentlemen. As spoken by my two Malaysian speakers just now, we are very honored and very happy to be present here in Karachi this time. Last year, we were in Lahore under the warm hospitality of the speakers of Punjab, Honorable Malik Khan. And during that conference, not only did we enjoy the conference, but we also gained a lot of knowledge. In particular, Honorable Malik has shared with us his idea and proposal to put in a budget oversight committee in his legislatures. And I think this is something that I think and I have brought back home in order for it to be implemented in my legislature. Ladies and gentlemen, we actually have a specific topic to discuss about. We are going to talk about peace and trust. But I think before we can delve further on peace and trust, it is good for us to, or it's good for me to share with you some of the interesting facts about Commonwealth. I remember when during Dr. Mahathir, the previous Prime Minister of Malaysia, spoke in a conference on Commonwealth Head of Parliament, Commonwealth Head of Governments. I think that was probably sometime in mid-1980s. And he spoke this straight to the face of Her Majesty the Queen. He said it. What is the meaning of Commonwealth when there's no common sharing of wealth at all between rich countries and poor countries? And what is the meaning of speakers when the speaker in a British Parliament or a Westminster model Parliament don't really speak? But of course, I think being a person who were born before World War II, there could be some truth in what he said back then. But I also think and believe that things has moved on and changed a lot since 40 over years ago when he spoke on that subject matter straight in the face of the Queen. Today we gather here, we are all honorable speakers and deputy speakers. Of course, when there is a debate in the legislatures, we don't speak. But when we, like here, we gather together, and when we speak, it means something, and it ought to be given weight. Do you all agree with me? When a speaker speaks, everybody must listen, because we don't simply speak. And when we speak, we will be speaking with something meaningful. Ladies and gentlemen, I also would like to share with something that is very common in my country, Malaysia. We have our friends from 𝗦𝗶𝗱𝗵, the honorable members of parliament from 𝗦𝗶𝗶𝗵. He is from West Africa, and you've spoken just now that when you have two elephants fights, it is the grass being stepped on. We have also similar stuff in Malaysia. When we have two elephant fights, it was the mouse deer that would be crushed in the middle. I think our friends from Perak can explain to you. It's the same meaning. So we are living in a very wonderful world, because although we could be from different part of the world, but we somehow share similar traditions and cultures and similar wisdom. And therefore, I think our gathering today is very meaningful. Selangor, being the most modern state in Malaysia with the highest GDP, our legislatures hopes to contribute to the pools of parliamentary reforms in the Westminster world. I believe, and I truly agree, that Parliament must be and can be a source of good. Parliament must also be a source of positive power. And this has a lot to do with peace and trust. My speaker from Kelantan just now said, speaker resembles a judge, but we are actually more than a judge. In a court of judiciary, they have the benefit of standing down. For those who are legally trained, you know what is the meaning of standing down. You have two sides arguing against each other. You can stop for a while and decide on some things later. But we speakers, in the middle of heated argument, we have to make quick decisions. We have to make fast decisions based on our knowledge, based on our understanding on the rules of engagement, our understanding of our standing order, our constitutions, our laws, and we have to make quick decisions back then. And therefore, many of the times, a speaker does not enjoy the privilege of standing down, just like how a judge in a court of judiciary is entitled to. And that speaks a lot to the roles and the works and the functions of our positions. Parliament must be a source of good. We have to do it and put it into actions. Selangor has been receiving visitors from all over the world. We hope that this will bring our legislatures closer to the world, and we hope by building networks and making friends with people from all over the world, we can also serve as a bridge of mediators to resolve conflict. My legislature has been receiving visitors from the People's Republic of China, and at the same time, they are also friends from Taiwan or the Republic of China visiting us. We talk to each other. We hope this can strengthen our positions as mediator, as peacemakers, because we believe our legislatures is a source of good power and positive power that can really bring peace and trust, not only in how we conduct our society and our legislations, but also in shaping a peaceful world for our future generations. Ladies and gentlemen, peace is not a mere absence of conflict, but it's also more presence of justice. Peace is about the assurance of fairness and confidence in everybody that they will have a rightful place in the legislatures. I have the benefit of browsing the constitutions of Pakistan, and I'm attracted to one provisions in your constitutions that guarantee the right to information for your citizens. This is interesting to me, and I think this is also relevant to our works in Parliament, because we are facing a world divided due to misinformation and disinformation. Misinformation means our peoples and voters may be given the wrong information and they make the wrong decisions. They be put into bad perceptions. Disinformation means they are not given any information at all on anything that affects them, and therefore they make wrong decisions. Our Parliament is fighting this. Our legislatures in the 21st centuries are dealing with misinformation and disinformation. Authoritarian regimes are still our enemies, but on a larger extent, disinformation and misinformation are actually affecting the peaceful worlds that we want to shape. And therefore, I urge all our friends from legislatures in Pakistan, in Asia and Southeast Asia, to share our best practices on how we can improve on this. We cannot allow our constituents to be dictated by algorithm from the big tech companies. We must rise above them. We must put up laws that regulate their works so that our community can remain united and not divided, especially in the worlds of misinformations. We have to build consensus. We have to build more alliances among democratic institutions around the world, with our friends from Pakistan, especially from Bangladesh, Maldives, from Sri Lanka, Singapore, and whoever who subscribe to the same values. We must be united and not divided. And of course, we must also champion free and fair elections with universal suffrage. Very important, one man, one vote. This, to me, is what peace is about in our legislatures. We do it by making sure that laws that we pass will protect the vulnerable, will regulate the powerful and the privileged, We have to make sure that we allow different voices. Sometimes there could be noises. Sometimes there could be in contrast against each other. But we speakers have to make sure that the differing views and opinions can be expressed peacefully in our legislatures without resorting to violence. And I'm glad that in Selangor we are doing just nice. If you look at our Selangor legislatures, we have almost every single parties, major political parties represented in our house. And of course, none of the political parties enjoy a simple majority. But we work together. We build consensus so that we make sure the government is working properly. That is what we call peace. Now, being a parliament and legislatures model based on the Westminster model, we must take pride in what we do. I just checked with our friends from Pakistan. I'm sure it's the same all over the world in the Westminster world. The Chief Minister or the Prime Minister must come to the Parliament or the State Assembly or the Provincial Assembly or the Regional Assembly at least once a week. And in our case, it is almost on a daily basis. The Chief Minister, the 𝗦𝗶ৃ𝗱𝗵, the Prime Minister must come because he is part and parcel of the Assembly. He must come and answer the questions. That's how the parliaments in UK works. A few days ago, I saw the Honourable Lord Sir 𝗓𝗏 being questioned by the opposition members on the diplomatic relations with China. That house is a healthy parliament. But of course, those countries who were on a presidential system, you may not see this happening because you don't see President Trump going to the US US Congress or Senate to answer questions posed by their members of parliament. You don't see that happening. But you see this happening in our country, in my state, in Johor, in Pahang, in Balochistan, in Sindh, in Punjab, in almost every corner of the Commonwealth. So this is the pride that I think we should take pride in our legislatures. And Selangor legislature is also a builder of trust. Trust is the currency of democracy. We have to conduct our hearing, conduct our select committee meeting and our sessions on a truthful and honest manner. We have to conduct it openly, allowing the voters to witness how decisions are made in the legislatures. And Selangor is the first state legislative assembly in Malaysia that live broadcasts our sitting. We pass law that reflects the needs of the people, all of the people, and not some of the people. We make sure that we uphold ethical conduct amongst our members by demonstrating that the public office of speakership is a public trust. And therefore, ladies and gentlemen, we have to work hard on this. And as I said earlier in the opening remark, that we have to, and we will continue to contribute to the pools of parliamentary reform in the Commonwealth world. That's the reason why we are back here again in Karachi a year later. A few months ago, we were in Barbados. For some of you who could have seen us speaking on issues related to gender equalities, rights and privileges of the House, I believe there are a lot more that we can explore. Today is the first day of our sessions. I hope to make friends with all of you tomorrow and on Friday. And as I said, Malaysia is an inclusive country. We have many voices, we have many ethnicities, we have many political parties, but the main spirit of our country is to build a country that prospers and a country that contributes to the well-being of mankind, not only in our region, but also towards the world. With that, I wish you all the best and in good health, and I hope to see you all in months and years to come. Thank you. Terima kasih.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, we now come to the keynote address of this plenary session. It's my honor to invite the Honorable Senator Raza Rabbani. Senator Raza Rabbani is widely respected for his constitutional scholarship, democratic leadership, commitment to federalism, and unwavering commitment to parliamentary supremacy and democratic trust. He has served as the Chairman of Senate of Pakistan as well as the Minister. He has also served as a member of the Executive Committee of Inter-Parliamentary Union. Senator Rabbani is an author of 4 books and a practicing lawyer as per excellence. Sir, we look forward to your keynote reflections on parliaments as engines of reconciliation and guardians of democratic peace. Honorable Sir.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Speaker, Sindh Assembly, Deputy Speaker, People's Majlis, Maldives, Deputy Speaker, Parliament of Sri Lanka, Speakers, Deputy Speakers, Members of Parliament and Provincial Assemblies, and delegates. First of all, I take this opportunity to welcoming you all to Pakistan, in particular the city of Karachi, which is the capital of the province of Sindh. I find myself at a loss of words for all the eloquent speeches, thought-provoking speeches, and ideas that have been floated from this podium to you during the discourse of the various speakers. But nonetheless, the theme of the 7th CPA Asia Regional Conference, Parliaments of the Future, Redefining Democracy through Trust, Inclusion, Innovation, and Peace. Across the Commonwealth, legislatures are experiencing complex governance, marked by evolving public expectations, growing political polarization, rapid technological change, climate-related pressures, and the need to strengthen participation of women, youth, and marginalized communities in a democratic decision-making. The building in which we are present, the Sindh Assembly, is one of the oldest assemblies in South Asia, having the privilege of hosting the first Constituent Assembly of Pakistan. The city of Karachi has been known for its plurality and political activism. There was a time when the old Karachi was referred to as being akin to Shanghai in terms of ideological and political activation. Therefore, it is appropriate that it hosts such a conference. In contemporary times, we are navigating the future amid rapidly changing world order. The old, tested, and agreed norms settled through civilizational consensus are tearing apart fast. The concept of post-ideology often causes profound unease, as it suggests that the areas of sweeping political narratives and dogmas is giving way to a more pragmatic, technocratic approach to governance. For many, this transition is a deeply troubling thought that feels like a betrayal of the very soul of politics. A shift towards post-ideological governance is accelerating, representing a significant global phenomenon. Narratives once defined by existential struggles against hard ideologies are increasingly being replaced by models that prioritize state efficiency, economic results, and social stability. This transition is recognized by political scientists as a marginal turn in global politics, a concept first pioneered by the American political theorist James Burnham. However, if most states have embraced this age of post-ideology, how can one explain the rise of popularism? The Belgian political theorists argue that the post-ideological consensus marginalizes public participation. Therefore, unspent political energy is eventually captured by popularist movements that offer emotionalized politics. Critics of post-ideological politics lament that it treats every societal change as a technical issue that only experts can solve. This approach can leave the public feeling stripped of its energy. Consequently, they begin to move towards popularists who promise to reclaim this lost power through a majority-backed ideology. But this loss of voice is often a misperception of how modern complexities work. Proponents of post-ideological politics argue that in a globalized economy, the will of the people cannot override the laws of mathematics or of technical competence. Civilizational commons like democracy and diversity are crumbling in the wave of popularism. The Economist Democracy Index informs us that many well-established democracies are drifting towards being either flawed democracies, that is 46 countries, hybrid regimes, 36 countries, or authoritarian autocracies, 60 countries. Unfortunately, this odd transformation is individual-led and undermines institutional approaches. There appears to be an institutional capture by the populist plurocrats. Unilateralism is replacing multilateralism. In terms of tech-based political psychology, instead of authentic political philosophies and ideologies, chaotic and noisy social media are impacting the electoral outcomes. The genie of artificial intelligence is a new elephant in the room. Pre-programmed robots cannot be substitute for accumulative political wisdom and experience. Politics and its political outcomes, representation in parliamentary institutions is all but humans, and that must remain humane. Let us define our democracy by keeping the people at the center heart of our efforts, and this is possible only when parliamentary institutions will be the strong repositories of the people's democratic will. If there be any gray areas, there shall be an intra-institutional dialogue to come out of the quagmire. The Parliament must trust the citizens, and the citizens must trust their parliaments. This two-way traffic will never clog our socialitis politically, and this is the prudent way forward. I imagine the parliaments of the future only and only in these terms. Historically, parliaments serve as engines of reconciliation by acting as forums of debate, dialogue, discussion, providing legal instruments to tackle aberrations, endorsing peace agreements, and fostering trust in democratic institutions. By providing a representative discourse space for conflicting parties to negotiate and resolve their disputes peacefully, they help heal suicidal divisions and prevent the resurgence of violence and extremism. Some parliaments in the world have also played a critical legal role in enacting legislation that underpins peace agreements, such as establishing truth commissions, overseeing security sector reforms, passing amnesty laws. Legislatures and parliaments often engage in track 1.5 parliamentary democracy to build trust between divided communities or its constrained nations. A representative parliament gives all citizens, irrespective of their gender, ethnicity, and class, a voice and stake in the nation's democratic process, which is crucial for long-term stability and reconciling diverse groups. Through transparent, accountable actions, parliaments help restore trust between citizens and state institutions, which is a key component of trust, inclusion, and peace in conflict-prone societies. By addressing issues like poverty, inequitable resource distribution, and human rights violations through legislation and oversight, parliaments help create inclusive polity and society that is beyond mere elite power arrangements. A strong and effective parliament ensures that the executive branch operates within the domain of law, preventing the authoritarianism that often fuels crises. The Inter-Parliamentary Union and the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association often rightly emphasize the need to redefine democracy through trust, inclusion, and innovation, ensuring that parliaments are equipped to act as true engines of peace and stability. Parliaments are the most legitimate democratic institutions for transforming conflict into dialogue. In Pakistan, the parliamentary path has repeatedly proven to be the most sustainable route to peace, stability, and democratic continuity. The restoration and strengthening of parliamentary supremacy has been central to rebuilding democratic trust. Parliament has acted as a corrective mechanism after periods of authoritarian disruption, helping reconcile the state with the will of the people. The Pakistan People's Party was founded on the principle that power must flow from the people through representative institutions. This belief has shaped Pakistan's parliamentary struggle for democracy, federalism, and social justice. Through inclusive representation of all the provinces and political forces, Parliament has functioned as a unifying national forum. It has allowed diverse and often competing interests to be negotiated within a constitutional framework. The parliamentary legacy reflects a commitment to reconciliation through dialogue, from resetting authoritarianism to restoring representative government, consensus over confrontation. The bicameral legislature of Parliament reinforces reconciliation. The National Assembly reflects the population-based representation, while the Senate ensures equal representation of federating units, helping address long-standing provincial grievances. The Senate of Pakistan has played a particularly important reconciliatory role by promoting provincial rights, promoting inter-provincial harmony, and preventing the marginalization of smaller provinces in national decision-making. Parliamentary consensus building has been most visible in landmark constitutional reforms. The passage of the 18th Constitutional Amendment stands as a defining example of how Parliament restored federal balance, parliamentary governance, and democratic legitimacy. The consensus-based adoption of the 7th NFC Award after 13 years reflected exceptional intra-governmental cooperation with the Federation and larger provinces, making resource sacrifices to strengthen provincial equity, particularly for Balochistan, and enhancing national cohesion and confidence in parliamentary leadership. Parliamentary committees provide institutional space for cross-party engagement. These forums have allowed sensitive national issues to be addressed through negotiation rather than polarization. Oversight by the executive, by Parliament, has strengthened reconciliation by ensuring accountability, limiting arbitrary power, and enforcing public confidence in democratic institutions. Parliament has contributed to social reconciliation by advancing legislation that expands political participation, strengthens fundamental rights, and promotes gender inclusion and social justice. Inclusion is central to democratic peace. The emphasis on women's political participation and social inclusion reflects the understanding that democracy cannot survive if large segments of society remain unheard. Empowering women and youth within parliamentary structures is not symbolic. It is an investment in democratic continuity, social stability, and national development. Parliamentary debate has helped institutionalize dissent by giving voice to opposition and minority views. Parliament has reduced the likelihood of conflict spilling into the streets. Engagement with citizens through parliamentary proceedings, public hearings, and media transparency has helped bridge the trust deficit between institutions and the public. The Senate of Pakistan has introduced a public petition system whereby citizens can, through email, petition the Senate Secretariat, which will process the said petition and forward it to the concerned standing committee. The Senate of Pakistan has also introduced a concept of the Committee of the Whole, whereby the entire House converts itself into a committee, and even an ordinary citizen can appear before it. Parliamentary democracy has complemented internal reconciliation by promoting dialogue with regional and international partners, reinforcing peaceful cooperation beyond borders. Pakistan's parliamentary experience shows that reconciliation is not a one-time event, but an ongoing democratic process rooted in dialogue, constitutionalism, and inclusion. Ultimately, Parliament functions as an engine of reconciliation when it prioritizes consensus over cohesion, federal balance over centralization, and democratic continuity over short-term political gain. Pakistan's parliamentary experience, particularly its consensual movements, offer valuable lessons for the region. In the end, I would like to wish you all a very successful conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Sir. And thank you all the distinguished speakers for their thoughtful and inspiring contributions. Today's discussion has reinforced several key messages. Peace is sustained through strong, inclusive, and trusted parliamentary institutions. Democratic trust is built through dialogue, representation, and constitutional adherence. Speakers and parliament leaders play a critical role in guiding societies through division towards reconciliation. As we move forward in this conference, let us reaffirm our shared commitment to parliaments of the future, parliaments that lead with trust, inclusion, innovation, and peace. I thank you all. With this announcement from the Honorable Speaker of the Sindh Assembly, that we have to be at the venue for the dinner at 7 p.m. sharp, and the delegates will be guided by the conducting officers. Thank you very much, sir.